actually watched that sequence I made in my free shows that's called Pandora and The Gate to Hell. And I showed that sequence that is actually a fish tank. I got that from a guy called Wake Up 2012. And I'm happy I got that. That was really the hit on the nail. They are faking everything, and they're not telling the public the truth, what is really going on.
You know, that's the first time that I've heard that, and it does make sense. It makes sense in a way that they do definitely doctor things. And I just put a link in the chat room, folks, of a Washington Post article today that shows some of the evidence of BP doctoring things, photos and everything else, to try to minimize the PR damage that's going on. And today I posted a video also, and once I found out that Tropical Depression 3 was going to go right down the throat of Louisiana, I posted something today that pretty much said, you know, now's the time to prepare for and get ready to evacuate and stand by, because it's going to happen. You want to get out. Now's the time to get out. And you're right. They are not going to call for an evacuation. They're not. And it's going to be, I think, if this thing strengthens to the way that we've seen it strengthen before, I know right now they're only saying it could be a tropical storm, but we saw Katrina blow up into a Category 5 when they didn't expect it last time. And I often wonder now, recently, just what the impact would be in relation to what we saw with Katrina. Only now the toxicity of this thing is off the charts. Before it was just the floodwaters. Now it's the floodwaters and they're toxic. And Griff, I know you were talking about the possibility of it polluting like the aquifers and everything like that. Do you think, based on some of the knowledge that you've gained in the last week since we talked last time, what the realm of possibility is for that? Is it getting to be more and more realistic?
It's certain. Well, I started to say something, but then again I flashed back what I said earlier. Who knows? Who knows what's really going on down there? BP has lied to everybody. They have an agenda. They've manipulated. The government supported the manipulation. The government has lied. So we can only speculate what's going on. We know for a fact, though, the water is contaminated. It's poisoned. If you allow the water to get on you, if you bathe in the water, at some point you're going to get sick, and there could be genetic changes. I think there will be millions of genetic changes in the population there because of the water, not necessarily the oil, as you would pick up a blob of oil in your hand, but the water is now contaminated with the oil, the benzene, the propane, the methane, and everything else. It's in the water, and you can't see it. So you're looking at a catastrophic catastrophe that has occurred. It has occurred, and the people, when they get spray on their face, or they're standing there and the sea spray comes up, they're contaminated. And it's going to show up in future generations also. I know it is. Now, the well has to be damaged on the inside. The pipe has to be blown out in places, certainly. The lining of the inside of the well hole has to be enlarged and damaged and carved out. And with the cap on the top, in just simple, basic, common sense language, the pressure in there is pumping the contaminants, the gases, the oils, horizontal through the strata in the land. And it's pumping it for hundreds of miles, maybe thousands of miles. And it's going to come up on the land, in the cities, in the wells. And you're going to find, among other things, you're going to have methane coming out of your tap from your wells. New Orleans is okay. They take the water out of the Mississippi 18 miles upstream. But Memphis and a lot of the other cities, they're dependent on deep wells. And many of the smaller cities along the coast from Florida to Texas, they have deep wells also. at some point in time, those wells are going to be contaminated, certainly with methane and other chemistry that's coming out of that well. As long as they have the cap on, it's forcing it in a horizontal fashion to the sides, among other things. Henning, do you agree with that?
Totally. I just made a video about that today. I sent it to Joe, and I wanted you to see that before we came on the show, because I tried to describe to the people out there what is really going to take place with the sediments and the layers through the bedrock in southern part of America, but all the way up to Midwest and all the way up to Tennessee and Kentucky area. That's how far up it would go, and possibly further. I don't know what the exact structure of the layers in America is, but I know down in South, being on the Creation Evidence Museum, how the layers are looking like. There's no granite. There's absolutely no barriers that can stop this flow of toxins and gases at all. It will flow freely, like in a deep well. It will mix in with the deep wells perfectly. That's one my take.
Henning, one of the things that I heard was that the surface or the actual crust of the Earth in the vicinity of the Gulf is primarily made of limestone. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, it's made of sandstone.
I mean, that's not a hard rock, right? I mean, that's one of the softer rocks.
It's brittle, and I tried in that video to explain if you're taking it from the evolutionist point of view, that a great meteor once hit in the Yucatan Peninsula, it was so powerful an impact that it was actually smashing all the granite into a fine powder. And from that moment on, all that granite was conformed into another type of stone due to cooling and heat processes. So now it's only comprised of evaporite and sandstone, limestone, mudstone, and chalk. That is the only thing there is in the Mexican Gulf. There is absolutely no granite. It's an entrance hole into hell, actually. It's the softest point on planet Earth.
Mm-hmm. So if you think about it, there really isn't much holding this back. And here is an energy company that goes and drills down what I've heard estimates up to 30,000 feet, and that seems to be much more realistic based on what we're seeing, what's coming out and spewing out of this, and the type of material that we're seeing. And we're only seeing just a minute portion of this on the surface, because with all the dispersants that they're putting in this into the stream, they're actually keeping things down in the water to where we can't see them. And one thing that I would like to say, folks, and I was trying to say it earlier, but unfortunately it was very staticky, is that there is a lot of resistance to this type of thinking that I've been experiencing when I post these videos and I mirror these interviews on YouTube or some of the feedback that I get. And to all those that are going to listen on YouTube or hear the archive session of this, I just want to reiterate this one more time. In order to understand the truth and try to get to the bottom of this, you got to think out of the box. And you have to open your eyes and you have to see things for how they are. Do not go solely by what you're told. And this, of course, the majority of the people in the chat room that are listening right now, I understand you guys know this, but I'm telling you right now, I get a lot of feedback that, oh, it's just a conspiracy and everything else. Well, let me tell you something, folks. Conspiracy is good. Conspiracy is good because it forces people to ask questions. And if you're willing to think about it and you're willing to think outside the box, you can attain that knowledge. And you don't have to live within a box, and you don't have to live in a almost fake world. People like Aristotle and Socrates and Newton and Einstein thought out of the box, and Columbus, and those people figured things out that were against groupthink, that were against what people thought were the norm, or what was the norm, and they disproved it. Why? Because they thought out of the box. And that's what we have to do now more than ever because the truth